Hi, and welcome to the kitchen.
Today we are making cinnamon grilled pork tenderloin with cinnamon spiced applesauce.
And we are going to be using the Kitchen Magic with Mickey cookbook again. This recipe comes from the Contemporary Resorts restaurant called The Wave of American Flavors. For the pork tenderloin, we had to marinate it, so we did that yesterday overnight. And what we did was we combined olive oil, cinnamon, garlic, thyme, oregano, salt, and black pepper, and we let it sit in the fridge for 24 hours. We are going to make an applesauce to go alongside of it today, and we will grill the pork tenderloin on the grill after. I am going to first skin the apples, and then the little chef will slice them up with the slicer. Now that our apples are cored and sliced, we're going to dice them so that they cook faster, and we're going to do that really quickly. So in order to make applesauce, we add the apples. We're going to add in sugar, apple cider vinegar, apple juice, cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. All the spices. We're going to add in a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 2 cups of apple juice, a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and a 1/4 teaspoon each of the nutmeg and the allspice, and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Now we're going to move over to the stove. Okay, so we're going to just leave this here, and when it starts to simmer, we're going to lower the heat, and then we're going to let it cook for 2 or 3 minutes. After that, we are going to move it to the food processor, blend it up, and then cook it again. While the apples cook, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you chose this recipe?
We were looking through the book, and I found this recipe, and I figured let's try it out because this looks really good. So I chose it because the meat what looked really good in the way it was cooked, and the apple slices looked really nice the way that they added the little what was it called again?
Garnish.
The garnish on top of the apple slices.
So are you going to try to recreate the photo that we saw in the recipe book?
Yeah. Oh, that looks good.
Yeah. So it looks like the apples are simmering. I'm going to give it a quick mix around, and we're going to turn the heat down. Okay. The recipe actually said that we were supposed to dice these, and these are kind of bigger than a dice, so I'm actually going to cook them for 6 minutes just to make sure that they get nice and soft. So one of our favorite fall activities is to go apple picking and then come home and take all of the apples and make a nice pot of applesauce. And we've been doing that pretty much every year since the kids were really little. I've never used Granny Smith apples to make applesauce, so I'm interested to see how this is going to taste. I always use Macintosh for the applesauce, and we use a very small amount of sugar, sometimes not any, and we sometimes like to put cinnamon and sometimes we don't, but it is definitely a fun fall activity for us. Do you like to do apples and make applesauce?
Yeah.
What did we do this year with the apples for the first time? Do you remember?
Make apple pie.
We made apple pie this year for the first time. And what did you think of the apple pie?
Good.
You liked it?
We topped off the apple pie with some vanilla ice cream.
And
It was caramel.
Caramel. So why don't you tell us what you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a baker and a chef when I grow up because I like being in the kitchen with my mom and I like cooking a lot with her.
So why don't you tell us some of the things that you've made?
I've made apple scones, I've made cupcakes, I've made a cake, I've made the curry carrot and what was it?
And apple.
The curry carrot and apple soup, and I also made the turkey pot pie.
First tell me what was your favorite thing to make, and then tell me what was your favorite thing to eat.
My favorite thing to make was my sister's cake. And my favorite thing to eat was the turkey pot pie.
What was your sister's cake made out of?
It was mint ice cream cake with cookie crumbs and whipped cream.
That sounds good. So now that our apples are done cooking and softened, we're going to put these in our food processor and we're going to blend them up. So I'm just going to pour this in because this is a little bit hot and I don't want the little chef to get burned. So I will do this part. I'm going to put on the top and just do it on low, I guess. Now that the apples are pureed, we're going to cook this for another 2 to 3 minutes until the liquid is reduced to the amount that we want. The recipe says that if you want it to be a thinner applesauce, you cook it for less time. Thicker, you're going to cook it longer. So we're just going to cook this up until it looks, it reaches a consistency that we like. So now that the applesauce is finished cooking, we're going to transfer it to a dish, and we're just going to refrigerate this until all of our meat is grilled. Here's our marinated grilled tenderloin. We bought 1 strip of tenderloin and we cut it into about 8 pieces. There was a little bit more than 8 just because of this really small piece right here. But we cut it into 8 pieces and we marinated it overnight so that it gets a nice infusion of flavor. And the recipe says that you can grill this on a tabletop grill or an outdoors grill. And I am going to be using my tabletop grill because it's very cold outside and I'm not going outside to grill anything in this weather. So I'm going to put this on the grill and we're going to cook it for 25 minutes. And we're going to check the internal temperature before we take it off.
This looks so good.
Does look good. So right now, while the meat cooks, I'm going to make a side dish for the family. This isn't part of the recipe. This is just what I do when I'm making a vegetable, well, green beans in particular. I use about a tablespoon of butter. What I do is I melt the butter. I grab a pinch of, it's a little more than a pinch of kosher salt and I sprinkle it in the bottom of the pan. And then I add the black pepper to the bottom of the pan as well.
Black pepper?
And I throw in a few handfuls of green beans, about as much as I think the family will eat. I'm just going to toss these around to coat them all in the butter,
And pepper.
the pepper, and the salt. And then I cover it and I turn down the heat. And that's it. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes. And I just want to check because I don't want to overcook this. So I have my meat thermometer. I'm gonna stick it into the thickest part of the meat in the middle. And I'm hoping that it goes up to 160 degrees. Great. We're up to 150, so we're going to leave this to cook for just another 5 or so minutes. I'm going to baste them a little bit, so I don't want them to get dry on the top.
Oh, this is so good. Ooh, I want to try. Can I try?
Here, that one.
I'm so tired, I feel like I'm asleep.
More.
Now that food is done, I am going to do the plating. So first, you take some applesauce and you put it on the plate. Now, we are going to take some meat.
Wait, let me get you a fork.
Please do.
Good.
And now we are going to add a few green beans. And now we are going to add some apples. How do we get the apples?
Well, that you could use your hands.
Pour apple slices. Now we are going to take some garnish and place it on the top. And that is our dish of food.
So now that the little chef has plated the food,
I tried it on a big plate and I realized it only took up half of a plate, so I decided that doing a smaller plate would be better.
why?
Because this plate is too big, and for a small fish you don't really need a giant plate.
Okay, that sounds good. So we are going to try the food and see how it came out. You're gonna taste the applesauce first? So am I.
Delicious.
So what I noticed about the applesauce is that it has a very balanced flavor of sweet and tart. It is also very tasty with all of the different spices that we put in it. I don't usually put a lot of spices in my applesauce. I sometimes will use cinnamon, but this has the nutmeg and the allspice, and it is very good.
The meat is good too.
Is it? I'm going to try that.
But, yeah.
The meat is very flavorful. I do think that I cooked it a little bit too long because I wanted to make sure that it was cooked through. The next batch I will cook a little bit less, but overall it's very tender. I think I really like this dish. What about you?
Yeah, I think it tasted very good. The green beans have like a little buttery taste to them. They are really spicy though.
Mm-hmm.
And the pork the pork tasted very good.
Overall, I think I would make this again. How about you?
Yeah, probably.
That's gonna do it for us today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on the next video that we put out. And Thank you for joining us in the kitchen. Until next time, bon appetit!